Pascal, bienvenue. Merci à nous rejoindre aujourd'hui. Thank you for joining us today, Pascal. How long have you, where are you from? If we can start from there, where did you come from?
Well, I'm coming from a road trip,
Ah,
but I'm originally from Sherbrooke, Quebec.
okay. How long have you been hanging around the Yukon?
I've been in the, I came in September, mid-September '03.
Wow. What made you choose the Yukon as home?
Well, I think the Yukon, it's the other way around. I never really decided to stay here. I never actually intended to move in the Yukon.
Yeah.
I just drove by.
Yeah.
I was heading up to Tuktoyaktuk.
Okay.
And I stopped here in town in September with one van. And in my van, I had one snowboard, my guitar, and one bike. Mm-hmm. And I stopped here up the hill to put some gas. And it was late in the afternoon, so I decided just to pull in. And I went down here and explored a little bit. I saw the bank on the other side of the river, start watching for a bridge. Sure enough, I found a bridge over there. So I drove, not knowing where I was going, and I ended up in the Long Lake area that night. I was like, man, it's beautiful. So I went overnight there, started biking the next day, and
So you mentioned three things on your journey here: a van, a guitar, and a bicycle. So I'm going to ask you about these three things in no particular order. Your guitar. What did you think of the music scene when you hit the Yukon?
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I could barely distinguish Yellowknife than Whitehorse when they came up here.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where the Yukon was roughly. I've never been up here. I was heading up north to actually discover, so no idea of the music scene here.
Were you surprised to see that there was such the festivals that we have in the summer, or that we hopefully will be returning to soon in the summer, and the richness of the music and how many people are making music here?
Yeah. It took me, I would say, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Because after riding around, biking around and discovering first Whitehorse, then the trails, backcountry around it, people. Yeah, I was kind of on the party side of my life at that point. I was in for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was looking for parties, for reunion, gathering, all of that. And I had my guitar with me all the time. So I ended up in parties, bonfires. And this is when I discovered that there's musicians everywhere.
Yes.
There's artists everywhere.
Grow like flowers here, only in the winter as well. And you found, if you will, a bit of a musical family, a musical home, because you're part of one of the more well-known bands in the Yukon, yes? Yes.
Yes, I'm part of Swell This Man. For me, I do what I do with this band. It's a really great band, yeah. It's my family.
Yes.
Tell
us, when did Swell This Man come together?
Oh man, how much time do we have? That's a cool story, but I'm going to link it to when I got here, because when I got here, it was biking, which was my bike, and jamming around bonfires all over the place. And I discovered at some point that there's a French association. It took me probably 2 or 3 weeks to discover that there's actually a French quarter, or I didn't even know how to call it back then. It was on Strickland. So one day, I decided to just go there and see who's there and what's going on, which I did. And I bumped into Marie-Maude Allard, the current accordion player in Swell This Man. Back then, she wasn't playing the accordion. So, of course, she's Francophone, and she was just coming in, like me, in a car on a road trip, and no big plans, just exploring. So we kind of hooked up there and started jamming just for fun here and there, and going from parties to parties. And we ended up at the coffee house on Main Street, playing a couple of French songs. And this was a big eye-opener for me that, oh, there's Francophone here. I didn't even know there was that many Francophone up here.
Okay.
So by playing French songs and music from where I'm from, that I started to get into the French community. And then we bumped into a couple of parties later, Anne,
Okay.
the bass player, he got here in late 90s, and Alain was playing bass, and he was looking for a band. He wanted to have some people to play music with, and he's francophone, so I know he's been playing with other bands before, but he bumped into myself and Marky Mold jamming one night and said, "Hey, I want to play music with you." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm just being here for a couple of weeks, and I'm on my way to I'm not really. I don't live here. I'm just here. I'm just putting gas." I stopped actually to fill up my van. "Oh, you should come at my place." Back then he was down in Gentian Lane, right up close to the river. Really beautiful spot. Mm-hmm. In a sort of a cabin, not finished, like with Tyvek and everything, but a wood stove in there. And we got in there one evening, a Tuesday evening, mardi soir, and we started jamming and recording with a mic in the roof all night long. Patterns, just creating stuff, just the moment.
So kind of l'esprit de Bob Dylan, the basement tapes, kind of just jamming and capturing.
Yeah.
Yes. Your bicycle. You came up with a bicycle with your van as well. It must have been so limiting to feel like you only had one season to ride in.
Oh, it never really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
No, because I rode till snow.
Yeah.
And then in my world, I was leaving. Of course, I didn't think about that. I was just taking off, but I didn't.
But now you ride a bicycle in the winter, in the Yukon.
Yeah, all year round, every weather.
What's that?
Well, it's. I started off with this biking, and yeah, I had stopped for the snow, and a couple of months went. And I realized that some people were riding at wintertime here. Mm-hmm. People they didn't stop there because there's snow, I don't ride. Paul Davis was one of them. When I saw him, I called him a Christmas tree because he had lots of lights on him and the bike and geared up for winter. I'm like, oh my God, that's great. Sure enough, I can do that too. So I got myself a frame, just a frame, and I picked up some parts here and there, and I don't know, what was the bike shop. I went to see Philip back then, and a couple of people in the bike shops to assemble a winter bike, which I still ride up to now.
Do you find the city is built in a bicycle-friendly way?
Way better.
Yes.
It's now at the point where, yes, it is. I would consider yes, because of the geographic of Whitehorse. Mm-hmm. We've got this nice, first of all, building here. It's beautiful, and there's a nice path right next to the Yukon River that crossed the city. So I use that path all the time, and for me, it's all about the river. I go along the river, and if I need to go downtown, I will leave around Main Street. If I come here, I leave over here. If I need to go somewhere over there, I will just aim for the street that goes to the Clay Cliff. But my main path is now the river. Before it was main 4th. And riding on 4th Ave is not that fun at winter time. There's not much room.
Have you found that the acceptance of seeing cyclists in the winter is growing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say 15, 17 years ago, I'm not blaming drivers. I'm just saying most drivers weren't used to have bikes on the road. And on the flip side, bikers weren't that good either to demonstrate good behavior on winter riding skills in the city. So, and I'm including myself in there. I didn't have lights for behind my bike. I didn't have good tires. You just wing it, but I don't think we should wing riding in wintertime in the city.
So do you find that winter riding is one of those things that if you don't know about it, it's probably scarier in your mind, in your imagination than it really is? Is there advice you might give to someone who's like, I don't know, I want to ride, but after September it seems a little chilly?
Well, I've got good tips. First, get good geared up. Gear yourself. Make sure you're being seen. Make sure you've got lights. It's dark in the Yukon in September, so you want people to be able to see you. Secondly, we've got a nice path now, bike path, and they're plowed. We can stick to those. I can climb 2 Mile Hill. I can go around here. It's plowed. I just have to ride a little bit on the street, so you don't have to be always on the street. There's places for bikes now. Of course, there's room for improvement still, but it's a really good start. So for me, now with e-bikes, I see way more people out there in the winter time with electric bikes. That's new in my world. I get past, I go up the hill, and then people are passing me up, but they have batteries on their bike.
Does it feel a little unfair, or?
Well, I sweat and I get like, I'm wet up there, but I work for it. For me, it's an exercise too. I bike because I love and enjoy biking, and I do exercise by doing this.
Okay, so we're going to move to our third topic, the van.
The van.
You were cruising around in a van in the early aughts and decided to just come through the Yukon on your way to a different place. That almost feels like a story I could have heard being told in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s. It seems very romantic.
Yeah, well, I pushed the limit on that trip. Because the truth is, I got here with a van, and I lived in that van, and I stayed in there. And this is the van where I've met a woman up here with. And to continue the story, it was kind of November. I was still around. In November, I got here in September, and still around, biking, jamming, partying, running out of money. And then I'm like dating this French girl that I bumped into here like by coincidence. And then she asked me, what are you doing here? Where were you heading to like when you got here? Oh, I was heading to Tuktoyaktok, but like I'm still here because I found some musicians that I can play with, and I can bike, and I'm discovering the Yukon, and it's great, and I don't really want to leave right away. I don't know. I think I'm going to stick around. And then she brought it up. Well, we should go to Tuktoyaktok anyway. That was your plan. I would love to go there. I'm like, seriously? She said, yeah. And then Marie-Maud shows up with like her flute and a couple of piano, and what are you guys talking about? Well, Pascal wanted to go to Tuktoyaktok. I think we should go. Ah, man, where I'm going to. Okay. Next day, I'm fixing up my van, removing a piece of the muffler, putting some metal plates underneath the engine because it was cold and I knew I couldn't plug it in. And so I started to play around the van. It took me a couple of days, and I'm coming back to the girls and let's go, we're going. But now it's mid-December. So it's dark, cold. So I hit the road.
Dangerous.
And we went all the way up to Tuktoyaktok on the ice, and everything, ice bridge, everything. And we brought even someone else. We picked up a French guy from France that I didn't know of. He jumped in the van, and we ended up in Tuktoyaktok, just exploring. Minus 52 is the coldest we got. And we slept in the van every single night. So it was cold.
Yes.
But for me, it was part of the Yukon adventure. I wanted to see the real Yukon.
Other than being surprised to find a fully fledged French community once you got here, what did you find? What have you found in the Yukon that has just blown your mind? There's just no way you could have expected it.
Myself. I found myself. I thought I understood pretty quickly that I could really be the person I really wanted to be. I didn't have any pressure, not my family is great, don't get me wrong. I love my family. Everybody's been nice with me, and there's nothing wrong. But from where I was, there's still some pressure about being successful in life and studying and having a job, and there's sort of a framework in life that here didn't exist. So I could be who I wanted, and make up my own path about what I really want to do, which I did. So for me, this is what the Yukon, beside, I mean, the fact that it's beautiful, it was finding myself.
OK.说你想 thank you bien merci.